Hey Labrats, welcome to the Metal Lab studio. I'm Tom Nando, and tonight joining me we have Danny and Scott. Hi guys, good evening.
How are we doing, mate?
Can you just tell everyone a little bit about Blame the Sacred and what your roles are in the band?
I'm Scott. I play drums. Founded Sacred with Danny and Andy a little before Chris and Wes came along.
I'm Danny. I make noises with my mouth. That's about it. I'll just hang around with the musicians, make some noise. Yeah, we're very much about it. You're part of the 7 Foot rhythm section, though, mate. So it's all cool.
Yeah, I'm all right.
What have you guys been doing over lockdown? Have you been quite proactive, or has it been quite a struggle for you?
We did some singles in the first lockdown.
Yeah, I think it's a case of making the best of a bad situation, isn't it? It's every band, unless you're at Foo Fighters type level where you have a studio in your own house, everyone's in the same boat. It's use technology the best you can and try and write remotely and go from there. But like Danny says, we did the Exiled and the Violence pretty much during the first lockdown. So it's not ideal, but like I say, it's just making the best of it, I think.
Such is life, innit? We've got to get on with it. I mean, we're still throwing ideas around thanks to the goodness of technology nowadays. And, we're in contact pretty much most days between a lot of us. I just want to get back in a room and make some fucking noise.
That's it.
So, Scott, you said that you started the band up. So can you take me a little bit sort of back to the start of everything and how everyone joined and what's the sort of story behind Blame the Sacred?
Well, how long's this broadcast? In a nutshell, Danny, Andy, one of the guitarists, and myself, we all played in a different band back in, I think it was 2017, I want to say. And
17, something like that.
Yeah, things happened within that band, and Danny and I both made it pretty known that we weren't happy with it, and we were done. And we were actually what turned out to be our last gig as the band. Danny, myself, and Andy were sat in a pub in Sheffield before what turned out to be the last gig, and we actually formed Sacred round that table in a pub in Sheffield. And then later that night, we were done, and the band died a death, which was inevitable the way things were. And the three of us just started getting together and jamming and writing. And before you knew it, we had the first EP was done. And then we sort of, I don't know if we thought it was ever going to go from there. We sort of went on a hiatus for a little bit because I think it just sort of ran dry. It was just the three of us, and I think once we started writing what turned out to be Edge of Tomorrow, that was when we realised, okay, we need another guitarist. We need an additional guitarist to get the sound that we want. And I've known Chris years and years. So I dropped him a text message and sort of said, I think I actually badgered him in some of my former bands as well about trying to get him on board, and he dodged. But yeah, I got him in on this one because he liked the EP. So Chris came in, and then Chris knew Wes. It turned out we all sort of knew each other from the music scene in Doncaster. So Wes came down, and then that was it. And it took us to the next level, which was what we wanted to do. Don't get me wrong, Danny, Andy, and myself are proud as shit of the Life or Death EP. But we knew that to take the next step, and I'm not looking to blow smoke up Rayner and Wes's ass, but the difference between the first EP and Edge of Tomorrow it's massive. You can see it. Just having the two extra voices and the extra guitarist, just it was needed, and that was it. Now this will be the settled lineup.
They brought about the game changer. That
it did.
Edge of Tomorrow was the when, for me, as much as like Scott said, you know what, hand on heart, I'm proud as shit to have written Life or Death with these boys. It was a triumph for three of us to write that. But Edge is where Blame the Sacred truly started, I think. With what we are today, it was the kind of evolution, the next step, and you know, I think we haven't really looked back since then. It's been all uphill, which is good.
So who came up with the band name?
I think that's on me. I can't give you a logical explanation for it.
There isn't one.
I can't tell you what it means.
Nothing's logical, Scott.
No, I can't even tell you any of the other names that we threw around at the time. And it was one of those things where it was, you get a group chat on, you know, WhatsApp or whatever, and everyone's just spitballing names. You know, we need the right name. We need this. We can't rip off another band's name. Pardon me. And I don't know where it came from. I just threw it out there, and it stuck. So that was it.
Like shit to a wall, and it worked.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Life or Death. Obviously, my favourite single from that, probably the first one, the first track on the album.
ALA.
Yeah, I love that.
And good track. Good track.
So, but then obviously, then I heard The Path, and then Hollow Ground just blew me away. Can you tell me a bit about the background about Hollow Ground and what the writing process was?
I wrote, well, the music was all Andy. That was Andy wrote the music to that. The lyrics I wrote on a train. I was on my way to London for my job at a time, and I wrote the lyrics. And I have a weird process when I write lyrics. I'll chop and change, and I'll throw them away, and then I'll bring them back, and I'll delete them, and I'll bring them back. And in the end, I settled with what I thought were pretty cool. And then, normally as is our process between Danny and I, when we write lyrics, I'll give them to Danny, and Danny will make any tweaks or changes that suit the way he wants to sing it. And that was it.
The choruses were pretty much you, weren't they? I dotted the verses to make them kind of rewrote them to make them work.
Yeah, so it worked. Yeah, and to be fair, it came out so much bigger, I think, than we even hoped. I mean, I think we knew when we looked at the songs that we had for it that was going to be the epic, you know, the 5-minute plus balls to the wall track. But I don't even think any of the five of us expected it to come out the way it did. And to be fair, a huge amount of respect and thanks goes to Matt Ellis at Axis, where we recorded it. He has a real gift at making amateur musicians sound like they really know what they're doing. And I think he peaked when we walked into the room. But yeah, we were really, really happy with how it came out.
Well, good evening to everyone that's watching. Thank you for everyone's support tonight.
Hey guys,
how we doing?
So, Into the Night. Okay, that's one of the sort of more melodic songs. So now you've released the double EP. I think it's double single.
Double single, yeah.
Double single, yeah.
Exiled and Violent. So, was it more of a conscious sort of decision to make more sort of heavier stuff?
No, everything's been with us. I think Scott will obviously back up on this a little bit as well. Everything we've kind of done has been really, really organic, and it was never a decision whether it was going to be a heavy song or a softer song until it was written. And everything kind of fitted together with it, didn't it? I mean, the violence, we started that before lockdown, hadn't we? And played with it.
Yeah, the violence was more of a process. The Exiled was Rainer. during lockdown. He's a bit of a whiz with his guitar and technology, and he'll just record something and send it over. And because we were all locked down then, and we were all in our own little homes and hubs, and we'd all just write our parts. And then once lockdown ended and we were finally able to get back into a room, even though we'd not really seen each other in, what was it, 3 months or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was March to July.
Yeah, the song was pretty much done. And then it was a case of, right, okay, we'll just tweak it now so that everyone's where we want them to be. And that was it. Whereas, like Danny touched upon, the violence we sort of had kind of, and again, it was just a case of just going through the process of taking it where we wanted it to go. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of songs that people will never hear ever because the process hasn't gone the way we wanted it to go, and we've dropped it like third period French. But with The Exiled and The Violence, they came from two totally different places, but they just worked as dual singles. One was, Rise Up, the people that are forgotten about and that are left out. And then the flip side to that coin is The Violence, is the fighting back. And it just worked. The process worked. And again, the results were everything that we hoped they'd be.
From a lyrical process with those two as well, it was odd that I didn't, when I wrote the lyrics to The Violence. I mean, the majority of the lyrics to The Violence were written before lockdown and before The Exiled was even a thought. And then when we wrote The Exiled, that was a whole new lyric set that was just kind of, I like where this is going. We talked about, as we always do, this is subject matter. Chris had this idea in his head. He wanted it to be about rise up against bullying, against and things like that. So, and his working title was actually The Exiled. So it kind of was one of them. It stuck with that one and was like, right, let's go with that. And as it kind of just sort of worked, the vocals and the lyrics to the Violence were almost perfectly fitted with it. So it made it like the yin and yang that it kind of ended with, which again, it's just an organic thing that just kind of happened. And they both came out, I mean, far better than we could have ever fucking imagined, ever.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Edge of Tomorrow because I think Carly had sent it to me the first time I'd ever sort of heard Blame the Sacred. And I sort of skipped Life or Death. I just
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah. But The Path, I mean, it's just such a shame that you've not been able to tour it because it's an amazing EP, isn't it? I mean, unbelievable.
We dropped the EP. It was one of those things that we had to make a tough call in March. Because you're gonna have to get me. We were due to play a show at the end of March, wasn't it? Which was going to be EP launch night and everything.
Yes.
We timed it that the EP came out the week before, and literally 2 days before the EP was launched, lockdown happened. So it was kind of like everything was like in the pipelines. Everything was kind of ready to go, and it was, do we really want to sit on it or what do we do? Yeah, I mean, ideally it'd have been immense to be able to get out there and tour it and gig it, and but we've had to kind of deal with whatever's come from it. We've tried to make the best of it that we can, not sit with fingers up arses doing nothing. But we'll get out on the road as soon as we're allowed to.
Yeah, I think that you have done it as well. And so, I mean, I honestly believe it's just you're going to be such a big band if you can manage to get to the States. This alternative rock sound, it's coming back so strong. I mean, I can see sort of similarities of Alter Bridge, a bit of Blackstone Cherry, a bit of Creed, and I love all that.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been said a few times to us. I mean, we have some good guys over in the States that are doing promoting for us. I mean, there's Sid Ryder, who's done a great job so far, just kind of pushing us out there. The Effigy Girls, Jules and Mush, they push us over in the States, and the reaction we've had over there has been almost as bigger than what we've had over here with stuff, because that maybe our sound is a bit more suited to the American market. I don't know. That's the feedback that we've got. So if someone wants to get us to the States, feel free. We'll take a phone call.
Yeah. So growing up, so both of you, what was your first introduction into metal? So who was sort of the bands around your time that you were listening to?
Oh God.
I grew up listening to Sabbath. My mum was a Sabbath fan. She liked Deep Purple. She liked, Guns N' Roses. But then other things like Meatloaf, which was, what do you call him? Like operatic metal almost, isn't it? Like theatrical metal. And I always grew up around kind of things like that. But then classic bands like Squeeze and things like that, which obviously, they've got the elements there still. It wasn't really until kind of new metal happened that I got into metal as such. Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit and Korn and that kind of thing happened, and then it opened up, and the rest is history. As I said, I don't listen to anything soft anymore.
For me, I don't. I listen to. I'm sort of like with Danny in terms of the new metal thing. That was probably where it really brought it to the mainstream for me. I'm not saying it wasn't around before then, because obviously it was. But for me, growing up, I listened to everything from both ends of any sort of spectre, and I still do to this day. In my music collection, I've got everything from Avenged Sevenfold and Slipknot to Bee Gees and Michael Jackson and everything in between. I remember a lot of my stepdad is the world's biggest Status Quo fan, so I got an awful lot of Status Quo when I was younger. But then things like Gary Newman, David Bowie, Hawkwind, just like everything, and in between, obviously the Sabbaths. And it was later on, as I got a little bit older, more teenage years onwards, where I found Zeppelin and Metallica and all these absolute monsters of bands. Bearing in mind, we had no internet back then. It wasn't as easy as you just go on YouTube. It was old school. We used to go down to Track Records and spend a tenner on buying an album. It was different then. But yeah, then and even now, like I say, I listen to all sorts, absolutely all sorts. And my kids are the same. My kids will ask for, they'll ask for Stone Sour one day, and then in the next car trip they'll say, "Oh, can we play that song that was on the advert?" And I'll try and find it, and it'll be some pop thing that I've never heard of. But I'd rather than that. I don't want them to be. They're so young as well. I don't want them pigeonholing what they listen to. And I think kids and everybody in general should. Everyone's entitled to have their own favourite genre of music. They have their favourite bands. But I do think you should just listen to as much different stuff as possible.
I think that's been the thing as I've got older as well. Now, I don't necessarily listen to an album just because it's a band that I like. If I like a song, I like a song, and I will listen to that song. Like nowadays, instead of when I was younger, I would literally have listened to Machine Head because it was Machine Head, and that way. Now, if I hear an Eminem song and I like it, I'm going to listen to it. If I heard a catchy pop song that was all right, I'd probably listen to How I Could Make It Heavier, but I'd still listen to it. And yeah, I agree with Scott completely. I think as we've got older, it changes a bit.
It is so much easier, because I remember growing up in the 90s as well, and like you with Track Records, we had something called Andy's Records here in Peterborough, and we always had something called The Bargain Bucket, and it was always something that I've never heard of, but it was so cheap to buy. And then you'd go around your mate's house and say, "Oh, have you listened to these are really cool," but no one had ever heard of them. But now social media just plays such a big part, doesn't it? I mean, how does it play for you guys? I mean, do you see a lot of traffic coming to your sites?
It's probably the only thing at the minute with lockdown that's kept us relevant. And I'm almost certain we're not the only band at the level that we're at the moment that would say that. It's changed the industry entirely. I mean, I remember, who was it? Was it Lars Ulrich? I think the whole Napster thing. Was it Napster? The court case, and that was. And I think from there it was always online, social. You know, it changed the industry entirely. Probably helps the smaller bands like ourselves more than it does the likes of Metallica and Foo Fighters, because they're so big already that they could put out, and the Foos would never release something bad because they just wouldn't do it. But if they did, it would still sell millions because it's fucking Foo Fighters. Whereas if you play it at our sort of level and you're hoping people will check out your music on YouTube, or they'll stream it on Spotify or Amazon Music, whichever it is, if they hear something and they don't really like it, they're not going to look you up on Facebook. They're not going to search for you on Twitter. You'll be done then. It's like you've had your chance and that's it. So while it's definitely changed the industry entirely, it's probably more beneficial for bands at our level, because it just gives you an automatic audience, because everybody is online now. I can't think of a single person that doesn't have at least one social media account somewhere, and so it's an industry.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's on that as well that it's for bands, like I said, at our level now. It almost encourages you to put out your best material as well, because nowadays, like I said, if you put out a song that you're not sure about, or it's not a great track, maybe a filler song or something like that, and it's the first thing that somebody hears, they're going to click past you. They're not going to bother anymore. They haven't invested 10 quid in an album. They've literally wasted 3 seconds of their life, and they're going to press right click and go and carry on going. So, you know, at our level, yeah, it has helped that, you know, people are putting out better music because you have to now. And I think that's how the industry's changed so much. It's just not what it was. But it's not going to be the same again for a long time, I don't think.
Yeah. But do you see a difference in the production of your first EP to The Path? Was there any differences making both albums?
Only because we recorded both at the same place. We did both. In fact, everything that we've done as Sacred, we've done with Matt at Axis. The only thing I would say would differs in terms of the production is we've got 2 extra voices now, and Rainer adores the studio thing. If he had his way, we would do 10 albums a year and probably never gig, because he loves recording and he loves the producing part, and he loves the little bits and pieces. Well, what if we just change this? That's Rainer's thing. Me, I'm not a studio guy.
No,
I like to go in. I like to track my drums, thank Matt for making me sound like a musician, and I'm happy to bail, because I just want to be on the road. I want to play shows. That's it. So between me having that thought process at this end, and then we've got Rainer at the other end, who is more, no, look, we've got it. Let's get it right in the studio. Let's use all the time that we've got to make the best possible record. I'm not saying that I just disregarded things on you know, Life or Death. You know, we listened to it and went, that will do. It wasn't at all.
I think Scott's frozen.
Am I?
Scott's gone.
Is it at least a good pose?
Still with me, Scott.
There he is.
But yeah, that would be the main difference now that we've got those 2 extra voices. So I wouldn't say it changes probably the final product, because we go to Matt and we know before we even walk in the door that the sound and the production will be shit hot, because that's what he does. The rest comes down to us.
You can tell that. You can tell by the production. I mean, the production on The Path is, well, second to none. I mean, you wouldn't even like think that, you know, you've not been around that long. I mean, I know I go on and banging on about it, but it is one of the best EPs of 2020. I loved it. As soon as Carly introduced me to you guys, and then I heard it, I thought, wow, these guys are going to be immense. And then it just all went lockdown and crap, and you know, it's horrible, wasn't it?
And like Danny touched upon earlier as well, that we were sort of caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place, because on one hand we wanted to get it out there, and tour it. But at the same time, we were like Danny said, oh, we could sit on it. But we were so fucking proud of it, and we just loved it so much that we were like, we've just spent however long we spent in the studio, and now what we're supposed to do, just put it on a shelf for, I mean, back then we didn't know if this was going to be 3 weeks, if it was going to be 3 months, if it was going to be, no one had any clue. And so I don't think we could have just left it sat there. It just drove us all crazy. So the only thing we could do was get it out there. We're very, very, very grateful and thankful for the reviews that we got, which thankfully were very positive, and we're extremely grateful for that. But like you say, the fact that we couldn't go out and gig it, we couldn't go out and tour it was, yeah, I mean, shit happens. What are you going to do? So, I mean, but it's trying to find the positives. The flip side to that is we've got an entire album, records worth of stuff there that we can go out and gig as though it's brand new, because hardly anyone's fucking heard it because we couldn't go out and play. So we've got a full EP, we've got the 2 singles that we've done since, we've got the new material that will hopefully, Grohl willing, be on the record if we ever actually get back into the studio again. So we'll just have a huge set list of stuff that, for the most part, no one's heard. So it's almost like we're going to have 2 records to tour later this year, if we can, instead of just the one. So try and see it as a blessing. I mean, there's no we can do now. It's happened, so we might as well just try and make the best of it.
The thought process we've got to go through now is as well that the moment that we get that all clear, that we book that show, we turn up to play that show, it's going to be a fucking party. It is going to be fucking mental, and I can't wait for that date. It'll happen. That's got to keep the positive thoughts. It will happen. The gig will come, and the moment that we can step back on stage, it'll be hopefully as immense for us as it will for everybody in the crowd, because it'll be one hell of a fucking show. It'll be almost, by that point, probably 18 months of frustration that comes out in that show. That's going to be good. We're going to have to bring in 6 shots into like 73,000 shots of lockdown hate.
It's like football team. I mean, you've got 11 tracks who are all superstars, all just ready to like burst out. You know, it's unbelievable.
Wait till you hear the new stuff. That's all I'm going to say on that.
No Metal Lab exclusive, no?
No.
Sure.
No. Can't confirm or deny anything. I'm just the singer. I don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever I'm saying could just be complete lies or complete reality. Nobody knows. Do you know, Scott?
I know bits and pieces.
Vodka and lilt.
I am merely the drummer. There is new material, and the only thing I will say is some of it, when you hear it, will say, fuck, that's so sacred. And there is other of it where you'll say, fuck, is that sacred? And so there's, yeah, if we finally get it out there and get it recorded and get it finished, and, you know, then, yeah, I think a few people might be in for a bit of a surprise, but we'll see. Exciting times ahead.
Cool. So are you looking at going a little bit heavier, or sort of maybe sort of Linkin Park sort of style heavier, or?
Oh, we'd never do Linkin Park ever. Apart from that one time.
I'll see the
video.
I don't know if it'll be as, I don't know, it's not new metal, is it, Linkin Park? It's more, I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah, like I say, it'll definitely be us, but there are a couple of tracks where you'll know it's us because you can tell, but at the same time, it wouldn't be what you'll probably be expecting.
The thing is, I wouldn't ever want to pigeonhole us.
No.
Ever. And I think throughout, even go back to the first EP, through Edge, through The Path, through the Twins, and I don't want to be ever put into a pigeonhole, because I don't think, as a band, speaking for all of us, and I'm sure you'll agree, Scott, that we don't write to any parameters. We don't write to this is what we are and this is how we're going to write. We write what we think sounds cool, what we like, what comes up naturally and organically. If it's a ballad, it's a ballad. If it's a balls to the wall rock song, we'll do a balls to the wall rock song. Scott's right that you'll be able to tell on some of them instantly if you've listened to our previous things, and you'll be able to go straight away, shit, that's sacred. There's some of it that you might get a couple of real heavy tracks.
Yeah.
Will we go down the screamo route? No, we did that. It was shits and giggles. No. It was a lot of fun. It actually turned out to be a great song, Bleed, but that was a kind of three-piece because can't do real metal. Yes, you can.
Yeah, that was purely an ego stroke for the three of us because we got told you can't do something, and that's all it was. Looking back, it was basically a fuck you. But there'll be no more of that. No. Don't get Danny's right. I still listen to it every now and again, and I think the chorus is probably one of the best things we've ever written. But the screaming double time verses, it's highly unlikely you'll get anything else like that.
No, I don't. Rain would cry.
Yeah, Rain would quit.
I don't ever want to. The beauty that we've still got with this band, and we've managed to keep for almost 3 years now, is without doubt we've not been able to be pigeonholed yet. You can't say we're a metal band, you can't say we're just a heavy rock band, you can't say we're a grunge band, you can't, because there's so many different elements go into every single song, into every single album launch EP, that why would we ever say this when we don't need to? We are Blame the Sacred. That is that. And we will release Blame the Sacred shit. I can't say fairer than that, I don't think.
Definitely. So before all the lockdown happened, the underground scene, in my opinion, was ready just to burst. It was amazing. There was some absolutely quality bands. How do you think it's going to reinvent itself when everything does come back? Do you reckon it's going to be even bigger and better with people wanting to go and see more live acts?
I do. I think this lockdown will have said everybody has missed live music so much, because you don't know what it was in that shitty song, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. It's so fucking true that until the fact is that you could not go and watch live music, people will not realize how much they've missed live music. You take beer away from people, they as soon as the pubs reopen, they're going to be heaving all the time, because the man said we can't do it. So as soon as, and I think even better for little bands, because instead of getting 12 people and a dog at the Woolpack on a Saturday night, do you know what I mean? People are going to be out in force because you're allowed to go out again. And hopefully it will bring people back in love with grassroots music, with the fact of just being out and just being able to socialize, see your mates, listen to a decent band. That for me, so I think it's going to go from strength to strength. I really, really do.
I think it will, if the grassroots level, as Danny called it, survives long enough to let it. Because, I mean, the nicest way I can put it is it's on its fucking ass, innit? It's right on the brink now. And I think Danny's absolutely right. I think as soon as, it's been that long since anyone's been to a gig, that as soon as us or any band announces that, hey, look, we're actually going to do a show, holy shit, like Danny says, what we probably get 50 people will now probably be getting closer to 300 or whatever. Of course, the other side to that is every single band is now waiting to get back out. So unless there's going to be 10 times as many festivals, there's an awful lot of bands trying to fill only so many slots. But I mean, I suppose that's good. You rise, if you want to get on the show, you can write good music and stuff like that. But I think if the industry survives long enough for us to get it back, I think it could be the best bad thing that ever happened.
I agree.
I think it really could be an injection to not take it to the next level, because that's a cliche, but maybe bring it more mainstream. More people will go out and see local bands, and like I say, hopefully us and bands that we're friends with and bands that we've gigged and played with previously, we get to go out and do all that shit again.
Yeah, I hope so. The only issue I can see is the venues. I mean, I hope that the venues aren't going to just be greedy and get all the big bands in. I hope, as you said, Danny, they're going to look at, the grassroots and say, yeah, this is, we want to bring the smaller bands in as well. Because obviously they're going to be struggling for making money as well. But just let's hope that the underground scene does come back.
I think the good thing that we're going to have when it first comes back is there's still going to be, whenever they let us come back and do music. I mean, we were supposed to play on Halloween Cup, and it had been to a massively reduced crowd because of social distancing. That ain't going away for a while. But the hope is that they're going to start bringing back, they'll bring back gigs with social distancing, which it'll be better than nothing. But then the good point on that is your places like your corporations, your O2s, that maybe where they'd have put a mid to higher level band on, but that mid to high level band's going to cost them 10 grand, where they're only going to be able to take 5 grand on the door because the capacity is lowered. So they're going to take, it's business to them, not anything else. They're going to take the punt on the smaller bands to start filtering people back in until there's a trust as well that these venues can control the shows. It's safe, and people start to trust that it's safe to go back to a show. The smaller gigs are going to be the ones that go ahead, which luckily for, like I said, bands like us, and a lot of the bands that we know are going to be the smaller venues. Your corporations. You might only get 100 in there instead of 3. They couldn't afford to pay a bigger touring band because they make no money. It's business at the end of the day. Where if anybody, a band like us will do it a lot cheaper. It'll be a lot easier to get your smaller bands into play without a massive outlay. So the risk's gone until they know that, yes, this works. Yes, we can make money from this. So, it'll be a boost to the grassroots, even if it's just for 6 months, a year. I still see that happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Hopefully, fingers crossed that we can all get out there, support the local venues, support the festivals. That's what I want to see, more sort of underground festivals as well, which would be quite. I mean, I think Badger Fest is hopefully going on this year as well, which is quite a lot of underground artists as well. So that would be quite cool. Are you playing any festivals this year, or?
We've got Rockmantic, which has been rescheduled, hasn't it, for August?
August.
That was supposed to be. We should have actually played yesterday. No, tonight.
Tonight. Originally, we should probably be there now, but we should. That got cancelled inevitably. And as it stands, and I say this more in hope than expectation, I think, if I'm honest, it'll be. I think it's mid-August. We're due to that.
It's the middle of August that's back on, and then again, more out of hope. But hope is all we've got. Is Rock and Bowl, which that's obviously rescheduled for September, and that's on the 10th to the 12th of September in Sheffield at the Don Valley Bowl, which again, it's an awesome lineup. There's a lot of kind of grassroots level bands on that as well that, Steve and Zaney have booked to go on there. There's some big bands on there as well. I mean, there's Doro that I can remember, and there's some good boys. Yeah. Hollistar, cracking bunch of lads, brilliant band. There's Gin Annie and, with these Wicked Rivers, I think. So that'll be a cracking festival. Again, live in the hope that it goes ahead because it'll be an amazing few days. We also have tickets for that. If anybody wants to buy them, let the band know. We've got them at a discounted rate. And I believe that they'll roll over to the next incarnation of the festival if anything was to happen. But yeah, give us a shout on that. We've got some good deals on them.
Good sales pitch there. So do you remember your first ever gig that you played as Famous Open?
Yeah. It was it was in Wakefield. I don't think the venue's there anymore. I think they closed it. And that'll do, Del Boy. Yeah, I don't think the venue's there anymore. But that was actually, going back to what we mentioned about on Bleed earlier, that was where we got told, you know, we came off stage, and a couple of the bands that were on, obviously later on in the night, came up, and on one hand they were very, very complimentary, and they were saying, oh, you guys don't have to make some noise for just three of you. But then on the flip side of that, someone else says, yeah, you can't really do metal as a three-piece though. For starters, we never fucking said we wanted to do metal. We don't, you know, we're not proclaiming to be a metal band. But now that you've said that, fuck you. So that was literally an ego stroke for us, just to say that we could do it. And that was the first ever gig back in 2017, 16? No, 17.
Was it 17? I
No,
don't know.
it will have been 16. Yeah, no, because Life or Death came out in 17. So yeah, it will have been late 2016.
It was Christmas. It was the Christmas show. So it was
it was between Christmas and New Year, I think. Yeah.
I think it was December 16. We played there, but it had changed its name. Was it like the Black Something Club or something?
Yeah.
It changed its name to it. It had many incarnations, but yeah, that's folded now. It's gone. But I think how many songs? I think there's 2 songs that we played on that night that's still in the set.
Yeah.
I think there was this Twisted, which you've never heard. That's a new one. That's been reinvented and reinvented and reinvented. And I'm sure we played something else. I couldn't even tell you. No,
I don't remember. It was a very solid first show. We did take the roof off the place, but we didn't stink the place out either. So, you know, when we came off, we were happy with how it had gone. But yeah, fortunately, we're a lot more comfortable. I think we're definitely a lot happier, I think, as a 5 than we ever were as a 3, or as a 4, as we was for one gig. But yeah, it was a good first gig. Certainly don't look back on it and think, oh Christ. But yeah, we're definitely in a better place as live performers now.
Adding the extra guitarist added a massive extra sound boost live as well. Because I mean, you can record as many layers as you want in a recording studio to make it sound as full as you can. But then I think if you've only got one guitarist, you do suffer live. Which obviously having Chris in there now, that's the sound big that we have live now, which is nice. I mean, Andy's phenomenal guitar player, absolutely phenomenal guitar player, but there's only one of him. And that was kind of where we got to after Life or Death, was logical next step. And the logical next step was Mr. Rayner. Good one, Scott.
Yeah. Made sense at the time.
At the time. Ooh, he's crying. He'll be crying. We love you, Rayner. Just so you know, Rayner, by the way, it's 21:53.
So for any young musicians trying to get into rock or metal, what sort of advice would you give them?
Practice. Just play. You're not going to be good. I think Dave Grohl said that he was asked a similar question, and he said, look, make your peace with the fact that you're going to be shit, and then just play and play and play and play and play, and you know, eventually, enjoy it. Don't expect to be, you know, the Foo Fighters or Metallica straight away, because you're not, and just enjoy it. I mean, to be fair, where we practice, there's a drum school in the same building, and it's so good to see these kids that just want to play drums and guitar. Never, when I was that age, no one did it. Everyone wanted to be a footballer, or everybody wanted to do, you know, I'm sure there are plenty of kids that want to be footballers, but it didn't seem to be like it is now. And it's so, you know, I take my kids to school and I'll hear some of the parents say that their kids are now taking music lessons, and I just think it's so fucking cool, because when I was in school, from like middle school onwards, and literally, I mean, granted, we're going back some years, and my memory is not what it was. I don't remember any kid saying, "I've got guitar lesson after school," or I'm going to play drums," or something like that. So I think it's so good that kids now see the heroes on TV or hear them on the radio, and I mean, that's how I did it. I mean, the first time I heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit," I went, "I want to do that," and that was it. I still can't do that, but that was what made me want to do it, and that would be my advice to, and not just like young people either. You know, even if you can be at any age, pick something up, and if you practice it enough and you enjoy it and you want to do it, you'll get there. At least that's what I tell myself, anyway.
I think the difference now is right, and I mean, again, I went to school a little bit longer than Scott ago, so it was a long time. But when we were at school, it wasn't cool to play guitar or sing or do music. It was classed as like quite geeky and quite, you know, you weren't in the cool kids. Whereas now it's awesome to play guitar, or it's awesome to be a drummer and be in a band, and that's social media that's changed the effects that it's had now on culture of what's cool and what isn't. Because I mean, that's what it's about when you're at school, you know. And any kid that plays an instrument now because it's cool, awesome. Just don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun. Get on stage. I mean, the main thing for us, we get on stage and we still have a goof. You know, it's still fun. It's not serious. It's not doom and gloom. If someone fucks something up, shit happens. Just, you know, just fucking laugh it off. Just enjoy it. And that's all I can say. I spent far too long being too serious about music and getting arsey with people and things not going right. And it's not the right way to do it, because you fall out of love with it. Now we just have a giggle, play some music, we write some songs that, you know, people seem to like, you know, which is always nice. And it's a laugh. And that's the main thing. Have fun. It's a hobby at the end of the day. Until it pays my bills, it's a hobby. And you're supposed to enjoy your hobby, so enjoy it. And if you make it big, fair play to you.
Definitely. And you won't be an underground band anymore, so yeah, you'll be mainstream and forget about everyone.
Well, like I said, shit happens, mate.
So if you were to share the stage with any metal or rock artist, who would it be? Who's your personal choice?
What, realistically or dream?
Realistically.
I don't know.
Realistically, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's so hard to even think about that. I'd love to share a stage. I'll go on this first. I'd love to share a stage with like someone who's still relevant. Someone like Ryan McCombs from Soil, or do you know, Soil, or do you know, a band that are still big enough that you know who they are, but are not. Do you know, to share a stage with someone like that, that'd be awesome. Just someone I looked up to my whole life. I mean, you know, we've been on, and Scott was there. We've been on the same stage as Puddle of Mud. We've been on the same stage as, what was that other band called? Trapped.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything more about him. But yeah, and you know, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'd love to just go up a little bit more than that. Someone like Soil, or you know, Drowning Pool, kind of that size.
That would be wicked.
I would like that.
Blame the Sacred Wrestling soundtrack. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, Adam Copeland, you don't want Alter Bridge anymore. No,
yeah, Alter Bridge are out, dude.
You want to come down the ring to the Exiled, my friend.
All the violence. All
the violence.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be good for Bray Wyatt to come down to the violence.
Cool. So we're going to sort of end this a little in about 5 minutes. We're just going to do some Metal Lab quick fire questions for both of you.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so this is going to be quite fun. So it'll be two questions, and you choose. Well, it'll be two sort of options, and you choose one and just give me a reason why. Okay.
All right.
Rocky or Terminator?
Rocky.
Ooh. Wrestling or boxing?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Hogan or Warrior?
Warrior.
Warrior.
Hogan's a cunt. Sorry. You wanted a reason?
I do, yeah. Circle Pit or Wall of Death?
Circle Pit.
Pit.
It's less painful.
Yeah.
Band merch or streetwear?
Merch.
Merch. Yeah. Always.
I'm not sure what streetwear is. That's why I'm saying merch.
I think that's what the cool kids wear nowadays. I think.
Merch
Stuff.
them.
Like the little sort of skinny jeans with the Vans and stuff like that. And
Nah,
Oh
fuck
God,
that.
no.
Merch.
Long t-shirt. Yeah.
screams or growls?
Growls.
Yeah. Growls. I think.
Ghostbusters or Jaws?
Ghostbusters. Or what?
Are you sure, Scott? Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters or Jaws? Oh, dude, that's like Sophie's choice. That's like asking me to pick one of my kids.
We know which one. You pick. Ghostbusters.
Oh God,
You've got to be.
we don't have long enough. I could do you an essay on both. I'm gonna go Ghostbusters just because there's a new one coming out.
And Scott wears something Ghostbusters at every show that we've ever played.
I do. That's true. I wear something Ghostbusters related every single time we hit the stage. So yeah.
This is one that's probably good for both of you. FA Cup or league title?
The team that I support, any. League title.
League title.
Cool. Dave Grohl or Travis Barker?
Travis Barker.
Have a day off.
I'm only saying Barker to piss him off.
Well, Dave Grohl, because he's the reason that I became a drummer. But I named my son after Travis Barker. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to edge with
Travis
Dave.
Grohl.
Yeah. Dave, just because of he's Dave Grohl.
And the last one, Slipknot or Machine Head?
Oh, fuck you!
Slipknot for me purely because I proper fanboy Corey Taylor. I think that guy is an absolute genius. I don't think he gets anywhere near the recognition that he deserves. So yeah, it'd be Slipknot for me purely because of Corey. But yeah, you're putting a gun to Danny's head right now.
Right. Corey Taylor is a god. End fact. No, there was no other words on it. But I'm going to go with Machine Head because Rob Flynn is severely underrated. Right? Yeah, I know he's got a reputation for being, let's just say, difficult, but he's severely underrated. Machine Head are severely underrated as a band still. I think they're immense. We're going to forget the bit where they went a little bit hip hop and was shit. But do you know what I mean? And it has to be. Oh, where's my camera? It has to be Machine Head. It's on the wrist. Machine Head. It has to be. I'm afraid.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Is there any shout outs you'd like to give tonight? Any mentions to anyone?
Just everyone that's watching. Thank you so much. I know pubs are shut, but 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and you're listening to Porter and me talk shit about stuff that probably only really interests us. So thank you very much for your time. It's not gone unnoticed. We are incredibly grateful, and should there be a new record, hopefully we'll pay you back with that.
Again, I'll just say thank you to everybody who's keeping us relevant. Thank you to the guys over in the States and Canada, you know, Sid, to Mush, to Jules, who are still pushing us out there, to the, you know, the people like you that are still pushing the underground scene in a shit time for us all. And we will be back. It's going to be one hell of a fucking party when we do come back. And I cannot wait to see every single motherfucker down the road. Get some beers in. I mean, even I'm going to drink that night. And now that's big on its own. I'm going to be drinking that night because it needs to happen. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be around. And we'll see you down the fucking road.
Awesome. So yeah, so go on to Blame the Sacred Bandcamp, YouTube, all the social media streams, and obviously just follow us on the Metal Lab as well. Thank you very much for the interview tonight, guys.
Not a problem,
Thanks
man.
for having us, dude. Thank you so much.
So for all your news, reviews, and interviews, keep joining us at the Metal Lab, the home of underground metal.